BS. All right, time to cut through the day's BS and news with New South Wales Liberal Senator Holly Hughes, who was at the Star ahead of Scott Morrison's speech. I can see you there, Holly. Looking very, very nice.
I am, a little black tie. I can tell you everyone's very excited to be out and about in a little bit of black tie. There's a few of us that have found the gowns are maybe a little tighter or a little looser than they were previously, as well as some of the boys in their tuxes.
Joining you is Sky News contributor Stephen Conroy, always looking dapper. Stephen, welcome.
Good to be with you. Melbourne has actually had some summer for the last few days. It's fantastic.
Sunshine. We like.
Oh, you'd lie,
Sunshine,
Stephen.
warm.
Never.
Stephen Conroy, what do you make of Albanese's new attitude towards migrants? I think he's being smart in what he says, but it's not what his lefty colleagues would agree with him over.
Well, a couple of different issues. Firstly, in your editorial, Chris, I think you confused policies on refugees with policies on migration. So I think they are two completely separate issues. And, you know, the open borders sort of story you told is to do with refugees, which the Labor Party has for a long time now, since the 2016 National Conference made it very clear, because I was there, I was on the floor, I was part of the debate, that there was not going to be the open border policy that many in the Labor Party wanted. It was a very firm position. On the general question of migration, I think the points that Jim was making absolutely dovetail with what Albo said. We want the best possible mix of our migration policy. We want to know what's the optimal number, what's the best mix within that optimal number. And all that Albo's done is quite sensibly said, well, we're not just signing up to a Liberal Party policy, which can, continue to favour one particular cohort of potential immigrants.
But 160,000 is not a large number after what we've just lost in the last 2 years.
Smithy, can I just say, Albo's got to get there and talk to some of the businesses on the ground.
Let me just hear what Stephen says about the number, 160,000.
Well, 160,000 is the number that it was at before the COVID came along and closed us down for the last 2 years. So I don't think it's right to say that, well, it's immigration that has to sort of deal with all of the mayhem and contraction in the economy. I mean, what we need the government to do is actually have an agenda that's more than just about pork barrelling the number of car parks that you can squeeze into marginal seats. How about a bit of national infrastructure? Finish off the NBN, do it right this time. How about you build a fast rail that services, Sydney, Canberra, Melbourne, Brisbane? I mean, there's a range of projects that actually be what we call nation building, rather than just, pork barrelling car parks.
Now, I agree with what you're saying about the big ticket numbers. Holly, your reaction to all of this?
Look, I've been down on the South Coast this weekend. Albo obviously needs to get out and talk to some small business owners. I was with three motel and restaurant owners down on the South Coast. They're coming into their busiest period. They are literally looking that they can run one service a day. They can do lunch or they can do dinner. They cannot do both because they cannot get the staff. We need to make sure that we are boosting these migration levels, that we're getting these people back into the country. And, we've done more to ensure that there are more and more apprentices going into the market in all of these trades and across the board. But when it comes to hospitality and some of these other industries, it's so many of those backpackers, it's so many of those tourists that come in that want to work for a period of time that fill those voids and do the work that, quite frankly, a lot of Australians won't do. It's a beautiful part of the world down in the South Coast, but you can live pretty nicely down there without having to work on the job seeker payment. We need to get workers down there. It's not a matter of Australians missing out on jobs. Any Australian who wants a job, there is 1 million of them around the place that they can go and get. We are struggling to get people to pick fruit. We're struggling to get people to work in our restaurants, in our accommodation.
A universal story right across the country.
We're going to miss a summer. But we're going to miss a summer if we don't start getting these workers in. I don't know who Albo's talking to. Maybe not his branch stackers out in Western Sydney, who normally like these kind of programs. But, I mean, Albo, it's not even small target, it's no target. It's ridiculous.
A somewhat historic day today, Stephen Conroy, with Australia signing a $1 billion defence contract, which is not a lot of money in terms of defence, but it's a lot of money because we're doing it with an Asian nation, South Korea. It's the largest military deal with an Asian country. The Prime Minister clearly wants to be seen as someone dedicated to security leading up to the election, doesn't he?
No question about it. the PM and Peter Dutton think that they can try and outflank Labor by being seen to be tough. What this does say, and it's congratulations to the government for the policy, is that the work that they're doing now to put to bed the concerns around AUKUS is invaluable. You know, we've talked to Japan, we've talked to South Korea, we've got the Quad going with India. I mean, these are really positive steps. All of them are good steps, and we need them. What will become more apparent over the next few months is that Dutton and Morrison will continue to try and play the defence card. And it's a card it's like the emperor with no clothes. We have no submarine program. He's just cancelled, I think, some helicopters. The F-35s are having training problems. I mean, this is a government that has actually left Australia with a significant capability gap. So I say bring on a debate about the state of our defence forces. You just got to read Greg Sheridan. You've just got to read Robert Gottliebson to see the litany of disasters that this government is presiding over.
But hang on, Stephen, the last time Labor was in,
they
took
talk
the
a big
defence
policy
budget right back.
We're in a global recession, the global financial crisis. So I think that trying to pick one particular point in time and saying, hey, I mean, everything was contracted. Everything was about trying to bring us back to a surplus after that fact. So I really think to try and suggest that Labor is to blame for the debacle of the actual purchases made by Liberal governments is a bit rich, Chris. We have no submarines forecast under this deal to arrive before 2040. You know what that means? No submariner alive today will ever serve on those. In fact, the people who will serve on those submarines haven't been born yet. How terrifying a concept is that when our region has got such challenges?
Yeah, I would have thought, Holly, given the fact that
seriously, Stephen, boo-hoo, boo-hoo. I'm sorry. The global financial crisis, the global financial crisis wasn't even a blip when you compare to what we've seen over the last 2 years with COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, get a grip. But I mean, honestly, you're now denigrating the Collins subs that we still have working and denigrating those submariners.
I'm not denigrating them.
Offensive. When you talk about what we do in defence, there is very long lead times in this. And what Minister Dutton is actually now doing is moving away from some of the stuff we saw in the past. I'm not going to apologise for everybody that did this when they wanted to do, their special bespoke little
You should
programs.
apologise for Chris Pine's performance.
Off-the-shelf works. Off-the-shelf works. And that is what Minister Dutton's doing. And if we want to all just keep casting our eyes back 10, 15 years and going, boo-hoo, that didn't work, that's not where we're at. We need to look at what we're doing going forward, and we're seeing Minister Dutton making some very significant decisions, whether it comes to the Black Hawks, where it's come to AUKUS, where it's come to the South Korea deal today, our relationships with Japan and the Quad. That was all, by the way, Stephen, before AUKUS was announced. So let's not rewrite history here. Let's not try and just pull back into the past. We need to make sure Australia is ready, and I think it's absolutely offensive and dangerous that you want to talk down our defence readiness.
Stephen Conroy?
I am gobsmacked.
I can't even see you, Stephen.
These are your programs.
Unfortunately,
these
interrupted by a period of your government. Which we know how that went. Rudd, Gillard, Rudd. That went super well with a global financial crisis.
From 1996 to 2021, you've been in government all but 6 years. Stop trying to blame Labor. Stop trying to blame Labor for the debacle of your procurement program.
All right, blow the whistle. I want to talk about Climate 200. Hang on, Holly. I want to talk about Climate 200. What do you make of this group targeting Liberal MPs, Stephen Conroy? This has a bit of a Malcolm Turnbull look about it, doesn't it?
Oh, no question that Turnbull is encouraging this group of individuals. But, I mean, they are a small amount of money compared to the person that made the single biggest difference in the 2019 election, which was Clive Palmer, 80 million. That to put it in perspective for your viewers, the combined spend of both Labor and Liberal National was about $70 million. Clive Palmer spent more than all three of those parties together in the last election. Not a word, not a complaint. So now somebody might be able to spend $1 million or $2 million or $10 million. Suddenly billionaires are bad for democracy. Well, I agree billionaires are bad for democracy, but let's start with the one that's actually causing the single biggest problem in democracy right now, and his name's Clive Palmer.
Yeah. Holly, what do you think of these? Most of them are former Liberal members, but it's all about bringing the Morrison government down. What's going on behind the scenes here?
Nothing more bitter and twisted than a former Liberal Party member who didn't quite get their way. And quite honestly, these these single issue candidates, this is the federal government. We deal with the big issues. We're talking about defence earlier tonight. We talk about a whole lot of issues. These are single issue candidates funded by a billionaire who I'm sure probably sits at home watching Gardening Australia and thinks that's how the world works. I mean, honestly, they are nothing but disruptors in a bad way. They've got nothing to contribute. Zali Steggall, for anyone who thinks she's done anything for Warringah, she's done nothing. She's achieved nothing. But they're holding her up as this bastion of independence. I mean, she's done nothing but vote with the Labor Party. But I mean,
Well, she stopped.
I'm sure Simon
She stopped the Prime Minister walking around in question time with a lump of coal in his hand. She stopped the Prime Minister walking around in question time with a lump of coal.
Hunter Valley. Coal's going to continue to drive the Hunter Valley, Stephen, for a long time in the future. And unfortunately, you got Pat Conroy out there in Shortland who wants to shut down every mine and every job in the Hunter. That guy's in the wrong bloody region. Oh, I just realised what I said.
I know Pat Conroy very well.
This guy's in the wrong region. He's in the wrong region. Someone who wants to shut down coal should not have a seat in the Hunter Valley.
Stephen Conroy, can I ask you about Mark McGowan?
I just need to declare Pat Conroy is no relation to me. He's lived his entire life being accused of being related to me, the poor bloke.
February 5 for WA people. Another Christmas down the drain for separated families. What are your thoughts on Mark McGowan's announcement?
Look, Mark McGowan is following the national plan. The national plan was you start opening up at 80%. What is your complaint, Chris?
Well, he's not opening up. He's leaving it until February 5.
We're not opening up. We're at 80%.
Excess of 80%. He's counting from 12 up.
No.
We've got West Australians going to Paris
I have some sympathy for him, including 12.
They can't go to Perth.
Oh,
Mate,
no.
Let
me promise you, there's not that many people going to Paris and New York.
I got to wrap it up.
You need to talk to those small business people down the south coast.
Always good to have you on the program. Thank you.
Mate, that's where I was. Couldn't get a lunch though because no workers.
Good on you, Stephen. Thank you, Holly.
Enjoy your night, Holly.
Enjoy. Coming up, not even the Advent calendar can escape the woke brigade this Christmas. Plus, Boris Johnson facing a rebellion from members within his own